Well, it's about time I finally talk about the Falcon and Winter Soldier finale, the final episode. It's been a couple of weeks and I keep forgetting to just finally make the video talking about it. I talked about all the other episodes and I never really got to the final one. I did watch it the day it premiered and I really liked it a lot. So, to sum up, yeah, I liked the ending. And overall the show was pretty good. I think it could have just been a movie. I said that a couple times, but now seeing the whole thing, I'm like, it probably could have just been a movie. I don't think it was necessary to make it into a six-part series. But then again, six parts isn't too long. It's not like they dragged it out for 13 episodes or 22 episodes. They didn't go on forever with it. Um, but it probably easily be edited into a movie. I feel like that anyway, because there's still like character development where it needs to be. Um, it's lacking. And in a movie, I feel like people don't often pay attention to that much, especially the first time around when watching. But in a TV show where, there's many episodes, I think you're going to easily notice if someone's missing development. But we'll get into that. Let's just talk about the final episode now. I mean, because I guess really liked the episode and overall did enjoy the series. In the end, I think I liked WandaVision more just for the concept, but this show was still very good for its overall execution and keeping things together, especially by the end. So the final episode finally has Sam Wilson don a Captain America suit. I think it's a very awesome suit, but as I had discussed with some of my friends, we thought that the headpiece of it kind of looked a little much, which I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because of the brighter, very white color. That's more noticeable that he's got a full headpiece, whereas Captain America, it's not as noticeable. I don't know why that is, but it just, it looked a little weird. But, when you're seeing him from the front and you just see the whole wingspan and everything, I thought it was very good. As I had said in the last episode, which I really enjoyed a lot, I thought the last episode might have, the second to last episode anyway, but the last episode I watched, the fifth episode, I thought that might have been the best one in the series. I really liked it. I thought it was just kind of a calm episode that really dug into a lot of good issues and really built up what Sam could do as the new Captain America. It really got the audience to buy it, which with this final episode now, I'm realizing that this seems to be just a TV show built to get the audience members, the MCU fans, to really accept a new Captain America, and I think the show succeeds in that. I don't see many Marvel fans coming out of this and not accepting that Sam Wilson will be taking on the mantle. Because, I mean, it's a tough thing to do. I think it's tough to just have a new character take on a name and a mantle that had been previously established, especially when someone like Chris Evans did such a good job in it. But the show really worked. And, the second to last episode, though, was building up the big finale, and I was saying, with a lot of Marvel projects, it seems like the third act, the big final fight, the battle, is usually the weakest part. It's the one that in a majority of the movies, as far as like all the movies, usually the biggest problem they have is like the finale. And so the TV shows so far have had the same issues. WandaVision had that issue, so I was expecting that this would have the same issue as WandaVision and a lot of the other Marvel movies' third acts. But this one I didn't think was as bad. I thought the action was very good and well put together. I thought it was interesting and different. It was shot at night, so there's always that part of it. But given the suit that he has, he actually pops out a lot better than a lot of the heroes do in movies, superhero movies that are shot in the dark for action sequences. And they bring John Walker back into it, but he joins the Falcon or Captain America. and the Winter Soldier as they take on the Flag Smashers. And I thought that was interesting. I was wondering if John Walker was done, but, you know, like we had seen in the previous episode, he was working on a new shield, so obviously he was going to come back. And, you know, it was kind of wondering if he was going to get revenge on, you know, Captain America and Falcon. I meant, God, this is going to be so tough. Sam and Bucky. It'll be easier just to say their real names. I was wondering if that's all that was going to happen, but no, he actually joins the team to take on the Flag Smashers themselves, and he's trying to get revenge on them. I know there's been some people out there that thought that the episode kind of had a bad angle to it because it had John Walker presented more hero-like, whereas, you know, Carly's motivations were more simplified, and then it kind of overlooked everything that had happened to her previously. But that kind of goes back to the whole thing I had with my issue with character development, which was I just felt like her character wasn't developed as much as it should have been, which, to make that character so complex, like I had said in previous episodes, I was hoping they wouldn't give her a last-second redemption just because, you know, we were making John Walker so blatantly the bad guy. I think some people, it's weird, I feel kind of mixed on it, because I thought some people were really saying that John Walker was a little complex. You know, there's some people that would agree with him, some that don't agree with him. But I don't know, for some reason I thought he was just so blatantly like the bad guy. But this episode kind of changed my mind, and it was sort of written that way, and it kind of made me appreciate him more as a character. But that was because the show did spend more time with him. Carly never really got that benefit because from the beginning, she was kind of painted very one note, and even though they tried to give her some more depth and some more, you know, development as far as her motivations and why she's doing the things she does and why she maybe just misunderstood, I think they kind of dropped the ball because they didn't really take the time to show what had happened to her previously, why things were better during the blip, and a lot of it can just be, you know, kind of guessed by the audience, but I'm like, I don't think you can write a show that way. You can't just expect that the audience will figure it out and then go from there and be like, see, and this character is relatable in these situations because, you know, just think about your own life and other movies you've seen before. And it's like, well, you can't just do that, especially then if most of the things that we're doing with her are her killing people. And it's like, well, you know, that's what makes her kind of complex because, you know, she does some bad things, but she does some good things. I'm like, all right, but we're not seeing enough of these so-called good things because we're not really seeing them. So I think that's kind of on the fault of the writers and the people who are making this, because I do think she's meant to be a little more of a misunderstood character. And there's definitely people who are making that argument online as well, who were kind of mad that the angle was thrown more at John Walker as being the misunderstood character and maybe even seen as the good guy. I don't know, I feel a little weird about it because I thought everything with John Walker was played out a lot better. They gave him more time, though. And I think his whole misunderstanding and his whole, you know, divisiveness of the reaction towards that character makes more sense. But the divisiveness towards Carly seems to be built more on the type of characters we've seen like that in the past. And, you know, in real life experiences. But she doesn't necessarily have all those attributes of people who are relatable in real life, like real life characters we've seen like this and characters we've seen in other films. You know, she doesn't have those same attributes, but people are attributing that stuff to her without it actually being written in there. So I'm like, I felt like it was kind of cheap. Whereas John Walker, you know, it was actually there. They actually fully wrote him. So, granted, with all that, they didn't give Carly some big final redemption. There was still kind of like a sad moment with her towards the end, but like I said, they don't redeem her, which the way the show was written, I'm glad they didn't, because given the way that they were sort of just ripping off the archetypes of this type of character, or the archetypes, the the way that these kind of characters are written in other movies that I think we were expected to relate her to, you would assume that she would have to be getting a redemption. But I'm glad that they didn't do that. That's the one thing that they didn't end up doing. And I was like, okay, so it doesn't probably make that character as awful, as I was expecting it to be, but still very underwritten and I think very unfair um, for that character. Because I think they deserve something better than what we got. Because there's that experience of the blip that I would like to see more of. We don't see a lot of what happened during the blip. The only screen time we've gotten during the blip so far has been the opening moments of Endgame. Everything else has been before the blip and immediately after the blip. We've seen people coming back in several different forms. We saw people come back in WandaVision. We saw people come back in Far From Home. And every version of people coming back has been a different kind of emotion. And I thought that was very interesting. It's like, wow, there were so many different kind of emotions going on. Because, Endgame presents it as such a sad ordeal that it's like the happiest event ever when everyone comes back. But everybody else has kind of a different experience. And I thought the experience here was interesting with the Flag Smashers, but we don't get to see a lot of it. This is a show that really would have benefited from flashbacks. So that character is just, given that this final episode is built as a very typical finale, I think it works because there's a very obvious bad guy and there's very obvious good guys, along with one who is a little more complex than that. And I still think they keep him in the realm of being an antagonist. They also have Juliette Louis-Dreyfus come back, which I thought her little bit that was done in episode 5 was really weird, rushed writing where she was the only one talking. It was like this long monologue that was just drawn out and in a performance that just kind of felt like, yes, I got to be here and do this because we're building up towards something else. She's back in this episode. They reveal that he is going to be the U.S. agent, so... But the action stays up. The appearance of Sam as Captain America is very awesome. And it ends with a very compelling speech. I thought it was very interesting, and I think it can challenge a lot of people's own thoughts and ways of thinking in the real world. I just thought it was a very well done final speech. And I know that there's kind of this like element to it where it's like, yeah, but if this was the real world, would things play out the way that... Would it play out like this, and is there going to be any change happening? But I guess also we can't really use our own experience technically. Like, it's a compelling speech in our own right, and we can have like a cynicism towards it as far as... But even with that speech, nothing would change. But at least within this universe, with that speech, which I still find to be compelling and would regardless, in their universe, I mean, they had the blip happen, so I feel like that situation might change people's perspective a little bit, especially the ones in charge. So maybe the speech would be a little more compelling than them, but that's just having a bit of an optimism to it. Otherwise, it was a good final episode. And I like that it ends with a title card that says Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I thought that was very cool. And then they announced that they're making a 4th movie, so all in all, a good day. This one didn't seem to get talked about as much as WandaVision, but I think that kind of makes sense, given that WandaVision was just such a, different type of show, different style completely, and, playing up the tropes of television in general. That show probably just had a lot more to talk about, but this one was much more straightforward, Winter Soldier-esque thriller spread across 6 episodes. Action, some suspense, a lot of what we saw in the Winter Soldier. And a lot of people like Winter Soldier, but I don't think it as a TV show, it's necessarily going to have as much of a conversation around it. But it still had some, I thought, challenging stuff. Overall, I enjoyed it. Not as much as WandaVision, as far as WandaVision being a better concept, and this one being probably better as a straightforward story that had a good a majority of the pieces worked, but still I think it could have been a movie. Because at least with a movie, it would have still been very similar to a lot of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Which has a lot of good action, good humor, good build up to other movies. Well, good, I don't know if I would say that. Appearances from other characters, and a lame villain, and a finale that may or may not be good, but in this case it was good. So, there you go.